Honours are still tied between Team New Zealand and Luna Rossa after winning one race each this afternoon. Tom McRae is at the Cup Village. And Tom, what's the vibe down in the viaduct?
Yeah, well, there's certainly mixed emotions here, Mike, after a bit of a roller coaster day. Aucklanders were making the most of finally being free of lockdown when we moved to level 1 at midday today. But that was slightly soured by being absolutely thrashed by Luna Rossa in today's first race. Since then, though, everyone's been able to breathe a sigh of relief because not so long ago, the second race of the day just finished. Team New Zealand winning by just over a minute. They won the start but it was an extremely costly error by Luna Rossa's Jimmy Spittle halfway through the race when they fell off the foils and the Kiwis were able to sail away with it, winning easily. But for most of the day, it looked like light breezes would literally take the sails out of both teams. All the talk leading up to the America's Cup was that Luna Rossa would be stronger in the lighter winds, and they certainly made the most of that advantage in race 1. There was just enough breeze to get up on the foils and get off the line.
Just a little bit swifter off the line than Luna Rossa.
But it wasn't long before the Italians were able to roll over the Kiwis.
The lead is extending slightly for Luna Rossa here.
All the talk before racing was win the start and you'll likely hang on to win the race.
They're going to have to come from behind again here.
Earlier, there was a false start.
Due to some spectators inside the spectator boundary, we have to postpone this race start.
The race marshals battling to control more than 1,000 boats, making the most of the perfect Auckland conditions. But the 10 knots of breeze meant this was always going to be incredibly tight.
They have to find breeze, Emirates Team New Zealand. They have to stay in touch.
But the Kiwis couldn't do that.
They're in pressure and they're on fire, Luna Rossa.
After winning their first ever America's Cup Finals race on Wednesday, there was a sense of relief from the Italians. That's now turned to belief. Well, after tense racing all afternoon, there are plenty of frayed nerves down here, but they can be dealt to now we're in level 1 properly. You can be sure the bars and restaurants here will clearly be doing a roaring trade tonight and right throughout the weekend, finally able to socialise without having to socially distance. And the biggest event in the country this year finally feels like it's started for real. We'll have all of the day's highlights from On the Water, the skipper's reaction and analysis a little later in sport.
We'll see you then, Tom. Thank you.
And it's Tom.
It's been an afternoon of high nerves on day 2 of America's Cup racing between Team New Zealand and Luna Rossa. Having lost the opening race, the Kiwis were desperate to claim the final race on the day to lock the standings up at 2 races apiece. But as Tom McRae reports, the Kiwis got off to a less than perfect start.
It was an important win for Team New Zealand.
We will finish race day 2 with these 2 teams on 2 wins apiece.
The defenders stepping up when it mattered most.
Yeah, that was a really good race for us. Just got off the start line slightly better than the race before.
The pressure was on after Team New Zealand lost the opening race of the day by 37 seconds. It appeared the rumoured advantage Luna Rossa might have in the lighter breezes was true. But the tactics of helmsman Jimmy Spittle and Francesco Bruni to seize the right side of the racecourse also played its part.
I think we just sail a clean race.
So it all came down to the final race of the day, and there were some nervous moments in the pre-start for the Kiwis.
They have just dropped down. It is belly in the water for Emirates Team New Zealand at the moment.
But they recovered just in time to cross the line even with Luna Rossa.
They need to sail fast here.
And they did. Unlike race 1, this time the defenders were able to dictate terms. Because they were slightly in front, they were able to force Luna Rossa to where they wanted them to go, which led to a 9-second lead around the first mark.
This is a close race.
But it wasn't close around Mark 2.
It's had a bit of a touchdown for Luna Rossa.
A fault with the Italians' foil cost them dearly.
Yeah, it didn't go right down, it didn't get into the lock.
And from there, the race was as good as over.
You know, it's a lot easier without the wind shadows and sort of free to look up the course and pick the shifts sort of on your terms a little bit more. So, yeah, really good bounce back for the guys there.
So, honours even after the second day of racing, all to play for again tomorrow.
Well, Tom joins us now. And Tom, what will actually separate these 2 boats?
Well, I've got someone who knows a hell of a lot more about sailing than I do. I'm going to bring in Ken Reid now. He's been involved in the past 6 America's Cups. Ken, what do you think is going to separate these two teams? They seem so close.
Yeah, not much in it right now. It's actually quite a surprise, I think. These two boats, these two teams helped create the rule. But they showed up with very different boats, very different foils, very different sail packages. Really, the setups almost couldn't be more different, yet here we are, 2-2. These races are, I think, a lot closer than anybody expected. After that first race today, I thought I felt the entire Kiwi nation tightening up a little bit. You know,
we did.
I don't blame you, by the way. I don't blame you at all.
So who's got the advantage going into tomorrow?
Well, for sure, we got a couple more days of light air, and I don't know. It's really hard to call. The boat that wins the start is clearly winning the race right now until things change. Now, one thing that also might change is with this level 1, we might get back to the race course right on the outside of the harbor. That gets shiftier. That gets harder to predict. That could actually bring passes back into this.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, Ken Reid. Oh, well, back to you, Nikki, after what's been an intriguing day of racing, and this looks like it could go down to the wire.
It sure does.